I'm so sorry, back in the booth. Call this meeting to order. I have a few housekeeping issues that I need to go over. Silence all phones. If you need to use it, please go out in the hall. You may leave once the variance request has been voted on. There is a time limit for speaking. It is 3 minutes. The board to approve must have 4 board members to approve requests. Staff will introduce the agenda items. Questions for staff by the board will then be asked. Applicant will be called to speak to the board. Questions, if any, by the board for the applicant. Persons on the sign-in sheet will be called to speak, and then the floor will be closed. A motion is requested by myself, and it's seconded, and then the chair, I will ask for any other discussion, and then I will call on a vote from staff, and she will get a yay or a nay. First item on the agenda is consideration of the November 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Or do you need to call the roll? No. Aye. Aye. Unanimous, okay. Next, Eileen will go over the variance request.
The first and only agenda item you have on the agenda tonight is a request for a variance from Article 6, Section 6-1C3A1 relating to the maximum height for an accessory building for the property addressed as 8107 Long Shadow Lane in the R1 Single Family Residential Zoning District, University Boulevard Overlay District, and Council District 3. These are pictures of the property as it was posted for tonight's meeting. And the zoning map of the property showing its location along I-26 and Long Shadow Lane. This light yellow is R1 zoning. So the subject property is R1, as are all the surrounding properties. And this is an aerial of the property showing its location. Again, we have the I-26 right-of-way here and these lots which back up to I-26. These are the pictures that were included with the ZBA application. So the property owner Russell Coletti is seeking a variance as mentioned. In May of 2024, the property owner obtained a permit to build a detached garage in the rear yard of his property. Per the zoning inspector's notes on the permit application, the garage height was to be 13 feet in height, but I will note that the applicant disputes that he was seeking to build a 13-foot tall building. The applicant then constructed a taller garage in his rear yard. His provided narrative cites the fact that the property is abutting Interstate 26, which causes a very high noise level that the garage helps to block out. Additionally, he also notes that the building is designed to house very large equipment and needs to be of a certain size so the equipment is not left outdoors. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow the rear garage to remain as constructed. Section 6-1C3A1 specifies every building erected shall have a rear yard. In Class R1 district, the least dimension of the rear yard shall be at least 15% of the depth of the lot, but such least dimension need not be more than 30 feet. 40% of the rear yard may be occupied by an accessory building not more than 18 feet in height to the ridge or the height of the existing residence, whichever is less, and at least 6 feet from any structure and 3 feet from any interior property line. For Section 7-7.3 of the city's zoning regulations, the board must make the following findings to grant the variances. Number 1, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. The application states that extraordinary and exceptional conditions that apply to the property are its location alongside I-26, and the bothersome noise level that comes with being located adjacent to a heavily trafficked roadway. The application notes that 1, the noise level has decreased since the building was constructed, and 2, the building is designed to house large, heavy equipment and boats with an 8-foot tall roll-up door to allow them to fit within the structure. Staff agrees that the nuisance noise is an extraordinary and exceptional condition pertaining to this property. Number 2, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. The application states that other homes in the neighborhood do not share a property line with the interstate and therefore do not experience the same level of noise that the traffic on the interstate emits. The application also states that the noise level exceeds the allowable decibel level set by the Federal Highway Administration at 60 decibels and references a noise study that noted levels up to 84 decibels. Staff notes that there are many other single-family residences along the same side of Long Shadow Lane as the subject property, which also share a property line with the interstate. Accordingly, staff disagrees that the condition regarding the noise nuisance emanating from the freeway do not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity. Number 3, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece or property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. The application states that not allowing the variance will limit the ability to utilize the property due to the inability to store large equipment that will then go unhoused in the rear yard. The application also notes that the noise levels would continue to be very high if the variance is not allowed, and thus the building's height is brought into conformity. Staff does not find that the height limitation for accessory buildings unreasonably restricts the utilization of the property, as the property has been used as a single-family dwelling for many years and may continue to be used as such. Number 4, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. The application asserts that the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to adjacent properties or to the public good. The application states that the shed does not impact the character of the area, and the granting of the variance will allow for the storage of heavy equipment to be out of sight. Staff does not believe the existing accessory building structure is of substantial detriment to the adjacent properties or to the surrounding area. As noted, staff agrees that the noise coming from I-26 should be considered an extraordinary exceptional condition. Staff also agrees that the authorization of a variance would not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Although sympathetic to the applicant's problems with the noise stemming from the interstate, staff disagrees that the highway adjacency condition does not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity, as many of the neighboring properties abut the interstate as well. Further, staff also finds that the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property does not effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property, as a somewhat shorter accessory building was approved during permitting. Accordingly, staff recommends denial of the requested variance from Section 61C3A1 to allow the recently constructed accessory building to exceed the 18-foot height limitation requirement and maintain its current height. And I will note that a copy of the staff report was emailed to the applicant last Wednesday.
Any questions for the staff?
Yes. I just need some clarification on some of the numbers.
Sure.
I was a little confused when I was reading this. So the permit application was for a 13-foot tall building?
So there is, there's definitely a dispute as to what was originally submitted. The inspector had noted 13 feet. There may have been a miscommunication. At this point, the 13 feet is what was shown in our records. The applicant disputes that. 18 feet is what would be permitted, 18 feet or the height of the residence, whichever is less. And what was built was approximately 21 feet, although on the application, he had said up to 23 feet. So that's why the numbers are a little bit different all the way through.
Okay. On this variance application, the number said up to 23 feet.
Yes, on the first page there.
Any other questions?
A quick clarification on what was just said. Was the 23 foot, up to 23 feet on the initial permit application as opposed to this variance?
There was nothing noted on the initial permit application as to the height. Our inspector went out, he wrote on it 13 feet, which may have been a misunderstanding or a miscommunication at that time. So there really isn't anything in the permit record that says exactly what was permitted, other 9 feet vertical walls, and then there was a roof shown above it. Likely should have been construed to be higher than 13 feet. Not sure how we got there, but at this point, the request is a variance of up to, allowing the structure to go up to 23 feet. So that is what's before you this evening.
And Madam Chairman, Chairwoman, if I could point out, I know that there seems to be some conversation and question and some, I guess, at least two versions of what the application was in the initial process and what height requests were included. Tonight is just looking at, or this afternoon is just about whether or not a variance is appropriate. And so I wouldn't focus as much on whether or not there's an issue with what was requested and what was allowed, as much as whether you believe that a variance is appropriate for the structure height at this location. I think those are two separate issues, and I would keep them separate, because the only thing before you is whether or not you believe a building that is at the height as requested is appropriate for a variance.
Chris, it says here, the applicant then constructed a 23-foot tall garage in the rear yard.
So that is a slight inaccuracy in our staff report. Because the request was for a variance up to 23 feet, we misunderstood that to be a 23-foot building. The applicant does
Okay.
state in his narrative that it's around slightly over 21 feet. So that's
Slightly over 20
Small.
feet, slightly over 20 feet.
So that we're together, the amount that's allowed without a variance is what?
is 18 feet or the height of the existing residence, whichever is less.
Okay. So the question tonight is whether or not the extra feet are appropriate for this location.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Do I let Zach and Chris continue to talk?
Give it just a minute.
Any other questions? I'm going to give those two just another minute, and we'll move on. Thank you. Okay, applicant to speak to the board, and you are
I am Russell Coletti.
Liddy. All right.
There are a few things in the staff's recommendation that are incorrect. 13-foot was never mentioned for the height of that building. When myself and I think Stephen's name, we spoke, I said it could be around 18 feet. During the build of the engineered truss, it looked like it was going over 18 feet. At that time, I called the city and said, hey, listen, my building's gonna be slightly over 18 feet. And I was told, go ahead and just let me know if you have a problem. I don't wanna give you that person's name in public, but I will do it behind the scenes if you'd like me to. My plans showed 9-foot walls with 11-foot truss sitting on top of them, which comes out to 20 feet. 9 foot and 11 is 20. They couldn't add that together. I had to tell them it was 20. They permitted anyway. They held my permit for almost 5 months, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They finally issued me my permit. I'm good to go. Everything is good. I don't know how zoning works in conjunction with building or with code or anything else. All I know is I submitted a request and I got okayed. So I moved forward. Knowing my neighbors, I would have never put the first nail in the hammer if I needed a variance. There were 2 opportunities to say you need a variance, Mr. Coletti, go get one before you approve the permit. Neither one was communicated to me. So I was assuming everything is good to go, so I moved forward and I completed the building. It's done. Nobody had a problem with it except one person in my neighborhood. I'm sure she's gonna tell you all about it. The other ones that are complaining now had no issues with it. The only reason why they have an issue now is because their fence is built over the power pole position. And on November 5th, if you'd hand out those packets to them, on November 5th, I sent a text message to her saying, Kathy, you're gonna have to move your fence, they're gonna cut the bottom of it to pull power to my garage. About that day or shortly there following, she shot a message, I'm sure, to the mayor, because I had 6 bigwigs in my yard within a week. Darvish Brigman, Chef, who's the ombudsman for the mayor, Bob Myers, John, Chad, and Steve. You don't get that many people in your yard unless somebody called and said a lie. Well, my building is not taller than my house. It's shorter. You can't see it from the road. It's perfectly invisible. All 6 representatives from the city goes, we didn't even notice it's back here until we came in your yard. It's not visible. Even though it's 24 inches higher than my house, it sits much lower than my house because my yard slopes off. It's the exact same height as my house, right at 20 feet. My side of the street, my house has the highest peak out of all the houses next to it. They also said the houses in the vicinity in the report did not have the same problem as we do. They do, up and down Long Shadow Lane, but in the vicinity, I took that as houses across the street, down the road from me. They don't have our problem. Everybody that backs up on Long Shadow Lane to the interstate has that problem, and I've been fighting it for 28 years and working with Mayor Burgess right now to continue that fight so that we can get a noise wall. But being that that building is constructed now, the noise levels decreased to almost a tolerable level. And unless you stood in our yards, and everybody, even if they're complaining, and you ask them, they're going to tell you it's unbearable. And now to have something in my yard that actually allows me to reuse my yard again, it's a blessing in disguise. Initially, it wasn't intended for that, but once it was built and we realized that we actually have part of our quality of life back, it was a very good thing. But then you have people out there who don't want you to be peaceful and rest, so they're going to cause problems, and that's why we're here today. Because the person that called in flat out lied about everything she said, and it was proven when they came out here that my building is not taller than my house. It exceeds by 24 inches. I was going to bring a piece of wood in here to demonstrate 24 inches, but they wouldn't let me carry it. This is 14. It's only 10 inches more than this. I back up to the interstate. Nobody sees it. It doesn't bother anybody, but it gives us our quality of life back. It was approved through the city. And I'm here because I was asked by those individuals to come and apply for a variance. So I honored their request. I quit building for over a month, and I'm waiting for you all to make a decision. Hopefully you'll find it in our favor. We did nothing wrong. We followed protocol. We've done everything that was asked of us. If a variance was required, it should have been told to me the first 2 times I reached out to the city, and I would have had that done first. I guarantee it. I promise you. I served 22 years in the military. Integrity is very key to me. I live by that. So I would have been here requesting a variance before I put the first hammer to the first nail. Thank you for your consideration. That packet I did send to you shows you a variety of different homes that are in my neighborhood that are well over 18 and 20 feet tall, some higher than 24. Whether they permitted or not, I don't know. Whether zoning went in there or not and approved it, I don't know. Whether they approved a single-family residence to have multiple houses on it, I don't know, but that is existent in most of those pictures. I'm asking for 24 inches. I'm not asking to go near anybody's property. I'm not asking for anything else but 24 inches of already erected building that I was approved for, so I can continue it, finish it off, and enjoy it for the rest of my life. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
I think I do another clarification. You received a building permit
I did.
based on the permit application. This might be a hybrid question for staff too. Based on the permit application that said the disputed 13 feet, which might have been another number, but
When I submitted the permit, it was already over 18 feet. That's why I reached out to the city to tell them it's over 18 feet. Because I didn't know the rules and the laws then. I do know them very well now, and I understand it all. I understand when we drafted up these laws 50 years ago, but we have changed as a city. And the permit showed it was over 18 feet from the very beginning. And prior to me even getting the permit, I called and let them know it was over 18 feet. And that's what's puzzling me, why all of a sudden, but I know why. That person will speak here soon. If you look on the last 2 pages of that packet, That's exactly what I was telling you about, and that's the problem, and that's why I'm here. It never was about the height of my building, because that person that called in, she and I sat down numerous times and talked about that building and how nice it was and how big it was, but as soon as they said they were gonna go into her power and cut her fence, it became a problem. That's why we're here tonight. Only reason. I already got the 2 sign-offs, my framing, sheathing, and everything is signed off. I'm waiting on the final.
Thank you, sir.
So you turn-
I've one question for you. You acknowledge that all of the homes on your side of the street back up to I-26, correct?
I do, absolutely, 100%.
And they all have the same noise problem as you, correct?
They do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're going to start off with Monica at 2474 Vistiana Road. How do you pronounce your last name? Mummy? Okay. Thank you.
Monica Mummy, 2474 Vestavia Road, North Charleston, Northwoods Estates. I'm here because we have a civic league in the neighborhood. Mr. Coletti was the president of that civic league for over a decade. And at one of our meetings, one of the residents came up and questioned about the codes involved in putting in a secondary structure in their backyard. So that's how I got involved. I am on the board. I was previously the president. So I gave Kathy information on what I knew about codes, the height of the building, or the 18 feet, whichever is less, and her home is 16 feet. So that would mean the height of a structure, if his house was the same height, should have been about 16 feet, not 23 feet. So that's what I knew, and I put her in touch with our councilwoman because I didn't know what to do with it from there. We have an architectural review board with the Civic League. Jim is here, and I asked him, well, I asked his wife because I hadn't had contact with him, specifically if Mr. Coletti had reached out to the architectural review board, and they told me no at that time. And he was not at those meetings to have this discussion. I hate that this has become a public argument. But the code is the code, so when I was asked about the code, I gave Kathy the information. The building is big enough to where it comes and with the lights that they've put on it, put light in her backyard over her privacy fence, so I understand her concern. So I just wanted to voice support that I understand her concerns. I also did not know that Mr. Coletti had gone through all of this permitting and stuff and was approved for a building of that height. So if his house is 16 feet, that would be the limit. And if it was 8 to 10 or even 2 feet, I would not think it was worth making a discussion. But when I realized 16 feet to 23 feet, you're talking 5 to 8 feet difference from the code. I know, I'm just, what was in the paperwork was the 23-foot.
Ma'am,
So that's where I was.
Let her finish, please, and Ms. Mummy.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going off of the paperwork and what I understood from what I had seen from the previous meeting and the notes. I was just trying to do my due diligence as a board member for the Civic League and represent the member that had come forth and asked me questions. So that's what I knew. I understand Mr. Coletti's frustration at this point. If he thought he was all permitted, that's a big deal. I guess my only request would be if he's given the variance, could he please make sure that the lights that are on the building are low enough not to protrude into the neighbor's yard over the 6-foot privacy fence?
Any questions from the board?
Miss, we're in the middle of public comment. Let them finish, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Tara Laswiski? I'm not saying them right, I know.
You tried. Tara Lazowski.
Thank you.
I live at 8511 Deerwood Drive, and I'm just here to support Mr. Coletti. Mr. Coletti went through the proper channels to build the building in his backyard. It's not his fault that it was overlooked that, the building was going to be over 18 feet. His side of the neighborhood actually doesn't fall under the ARB of our neighborhood anymore because the covenants have expired. So that's kind of a non-issue there. I know Ms. Monica was talking about. But, as he said, the building, I drove by it on the way here. You can barely see it. The only way you can see it is if you're actually looking for it. It's not taller than his home. How anyone would even see or expect that it was over the 18 feet is beyond me. My background, I'm a residential appraiser. I measure things for a living. So being able to see what you can of his property from the street, there's no way to tell that it's even over the 18 feet. It doesn't, he's not close to either property line and on either side, and then his property, of course, backs up to I-26. And I know some people have been bringing that up, that it's helped with the sound, and there are other properties that are subject to that sound. As he said, it was a side effect, that it's helped his property, by muffling some of the sound from the interstate. So again, I'm just here to support Mr. Coletti. I hope you consider his variance. It seems reasonable that if the city had an issue with it from the beginning, they should have addressed it before he started construction. So thank you all for your time, and thank you again.
Thank you. Questions, anyone from the board? Jim? Yeah, thank you.
I also live at 8511 Deerwood Drive. I've been the former vice president of the Civic League for over 12 years. I'm still the existing president of the Architecture Review Board for over 18 years. His section of neighborhood does not fall under our neighborhood anymore. After dealing with Mr. Coletti for all those years, I've learned a lot. He does everything by the book, and I support him fully. If he had done the permits, he did. I take his word for it. I looked at it. You can't even see it. I'm 6'5". I had to get out of my truck and actually look for it. So I don't see what the problem is on granting the variance. I just wanted to put it that way.
Thank you. Andrea Sparks?
Evening, everyone. I live at 8318 Delhi. I back to 26. I am actually in the process of constructing a garage to try to help dampen some of the noise because we have a very large back patio and we like to try to enjoy our back patio, but since they've put the exit that starts right behind my house, the noise level has gone through the roof. It's worse than they did the noise study a couple of years ago. So I've known Russ for 13, 14 years. So when I started to construct my own garage, he's who I called to say, okay, we're gonna do a garage. Help me understand, who do I need to call? He helped me through the permitting process. So when I tell you he does it by the book, he does it by the book, and he helped me do it by the book and who to contact. So if he gave a plan that had a 9-foot exterior wall with an 11-foot truss, that's 20 feet, and then you've got, a couple more inches for plywood, shingles, whatever. It seems to me that it was very apparent in his planning that it was going to be more than 18 feet. So now I'm concerned because my building is right about 16, 17 feet. What if mine goes a little bit higher? Am I going to be in the same position? There is one of my neighbors who has a very large metal building that is well over 18 feet. It's been there for as long as I've lived there, and I've been in my house for almost 13 years. So there are a number of accessory buildings throughout our neighborhood that are just as large and that you can see from the road. I drive past their house on a regular basis. You cannot see their garage from the road, whereas you can a lot of other neighborhood houses on the main street that does not back to 26. I can appreciate that, there are rules, but if he got a permit and followed all of the rules and they said, you're good to go, would you think you need to stop after you got a permit? Because now I'm concerned. I've spent a lot of my hard-earned money to put up a garage, and now it's getting ready to go up, and now I'm nervous. Am I going to be in the same position? I hope not. I truly do. I don't think that 24 inches is a big deal, especially considering a noise wall would have been 25 feet per South Carolina Department of Transportation. I thank you for your time, and I hope that you do approve this variance.
Thank you. Kathy Roberson?
My name is Kathy Robertson, and I live at 8095 Long Shadow Lane, which is adjacent to the Coletti property. The subject residence is approximately 16 feet in height, and the zoning does say 18 feet or the height of the existing residence. There is interstate noise behind our house. Thank you. The applicant clearly says that there are hundreds of homes affected by that noise of the interstate, so that is neither unique or exceptional to the property. The R1 zoning regulation does not prohibit or restrict reasonable utilization. The applicant has utilized this property over 30 years. Creating a variance for the height of the building would substantially be detrimental to adjacent property. My property is directly adjacent to the subject. The current building looms 17 feet over my 6-foot privacy fence. It's a commercial building, inappropriate for the residential backyard. It's an invasion of privacy and an impairment of quiet enjoyment. It will adversely affect the value of my property as it distracts from the private residential character of my backyard. Not once in over 40 years of selling real estate has anyone ever asked me to find them a home with a private backyard, a swimming pool, and a huge not-to-exceed building overlooking the property. There is currently a light pole behind the building which shines in my back windows. The spotlights from the applicant's house reflect off the building into my yard and my pool and my windows like a movie screen. The building can be seen. It's almost 23 feet tall. It can be seen from the backyards of neighbors at least 5 and 6 houses down in each direction. It does not conform to the neighborhood. I request that you deny the variance requested and have the application make corrections to the building in line with city code and zoning for a 16-foot residential property in the city of North Charleston and Northwoods Estates. I would like to add that I did not call the mayor. I did not call anybody. I did not turn this building in to code. I disagree that it should be there. But whatever accusations are being made about me turning it in, I did not do that.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Virginia Jameson?
Good evening. I hope that you can hear me because this volume was not up, so I could not hear the whole dissertation here. But I'm here to speak truth to right, wrong, and fair. I'm Virginia Jameson. I live at 4720, my other property. I live at 8139 Long Shadow Lane in Northwood Estates. I have lived at this address since 1985. A lot of people say that I check things too much, but I do check because this is where I live. This is where I want to live. The reason I bought a house in Northwoods in 1985 is because of the livability and the quality of life that I saw there. The reason that I bought a house in Northwoods is because it was one of the better communities in North Charleston before we annexed Somerville. So I'm here to tell you this evening that slowly but surely our neighborhood is eroding. That quality of life, that emotional infrastructure that makes me feel good when I drive into my community, that I live here. I'm feeling good tonight when I go to bed. Well, that has changed drastically. We had covenants that covered our communities, that certain things would not be allowed, that we would have to adhere to the ordinances of our city. And I certainly hope that this board would do the driving tour when something of this magnitude comes up, because we have right, wrong, and fair. And thank you, staff, for saying the staff recommendation is for denial of this type of construction going on in our R1 neighborhood to house heavy equipment. That should go into commercial areas. That should go into areas where it's being used, heavy equipment. Every night, every evening, when the code enforcer is not there and the building committee is not there, we are inundated with cars, with trucks, with boats, with all of these things parked in the roadway where people are walking their babies in strollers. It's not right. Thank you, City of North Charleston, for stepping up to the plate and recognizing right, wrong, and fair. And this is fair what you're doing with this denial. After 40 years of living in this community, I'm ready to go. But I'm not going to allow this kind of behavior to push me out of a neighborhood that has so much potential, had so much potential. And I thank you very much for hearing me. Right, wrong, and fair. Livability, quality of life, emotional infrastructures are what we need to be looking at in R1 neighborhoods. Not boats parked on the road, not squat trucks everywhere. None of those things are allowed. And Governor McMaster stated that about 2.5 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Hassinger? Last name Hassinger? You're, okay. Jack Stone?
Thank you.
welcome.
My name is Jack Stone. I live at 8167 Long Shadow Lane in North Charleston. I've known Russ Coletti for over 20 years, and the way we met is my house also abuts 26, and I've had a flooding problem for over 20 years. I had a building in my backyard that we had to demolish because of all the problems. The only person who ever helped me with anything was Russ Coletti. The person who just spoke here, Virginia Jameson, never helped. And I believe that she's a big part of trying to deny this for Russ because Russ ran against her and lost on multiple occasions. I think this is all just personal. It has nothing to do with the neighborhood or anything. We raised 2 kids in this neighborhood. I've got 7 grandkids under the age of 6 that love it. I've got a beautiful fenced-in backyard. Let me just tell you that story. So we were putting in a brand-new privacy fence. And so I wanted to find somebody that was reputable to do it. Virginia's neighbor had somebody do it, okay? I went over and spoke to him. They did the job. Didn't need a permit, didn't need anything. Did 7 other houses other than mine. My house gets done. I mentioned to the contractor, I said, "Are you sure we don't need a permit?" He says, "I've done 7 other houses in here, not a problem." No more than 2 weeks after my fence is constructed, it's in, it's done. Do I not get a letter from the city stating I need a permit? He went down there and was told that Virginia Jameson complained about it. I believe this is all personal. And if we're going to talk about buildings in a backyard, her neighbor who's a friend of hers, if you look right like here, there's her house, he's right there, has multiple buildings in his backyard. The only reason I know it, he opened his fence open one day. There are multiple buildings back there that I know for a fact no permits are for. And I think we have to be fair about this. Russ has done everything he was supposed to do. And he's been not only a good citizen, a good neighbor, and he cares about North Charleston. This has been a great place to raise a family. We're staying here. We're not going anywhere. And I think he should be allowed to have his building. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I did mention that I have lived in Northwoods for 1985 until now. My property is pristine. I didn't mention the fact, and I don't want anybody to be influenced by the positions that I have held in this city. I did serve on the city council for 8 years, and I did monitor everything that code should be monitoring and that our building department should be monitoring for quality of life for my neighbors and me, and for my 4.5-year-old great-grandson that will eventually inherit this property. Residential is residential. Commercial is commercial. I don't have anything against any of these people here, but I know that there is fair, there is right, and there is wrong.
Can we do one thing? Do we have any other speakers?
No, that's it.
Oh, perfect. If you'd let him respond, if you'd like, I mean, the rules don't allow such, but it's up to you, Madam Chair, and then we can move on to the next part of the.
I don't think.
Sorry, you just allowed that. You're not going to allow any.
Sir, please don't yell out in the middle of a meeting. She rebutted because you made a personal attack against her, and she responded. Neither comment talked about the variance.
No, I think we're done. The last person on the sign-in sheet has spoken. I'm going to close the floor. I need a motion from the board.
Motion to deny.
Second.
Discussion? Right ahead.
All right, I guess two things. So firstly, I'm a bit uncomfortable with the disputed numbers that have been thrown around here today and the fact that there was a permit. But there are 4 criteria that have to be met for a variance, and I agree with staff that 2 of them have not been met, and that is my stance.
I agree.
I agree as well. Any other discussion? Okay. Eileen, will you call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. So the motion you have before you this evening is to deny the requested variance. Mr. Calhoun?
Yes.
Mr. Closser?
Yes.
Ms. Harper?
Yes.
Mr. O'Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Morrow?
Yes.
So the variance is denied.
Sir, your variance has been denied.
I'll talk to you about it.
Thank you. The board, this meeting is now adjourned.